Welcome to Talking in Stations. I'm Matt Earl. It is January 29th. Sorry, 28th. Getting ahead of myself there. And we have some stories for you from the game and also from the metasphere. We'll start with the big story in the game right now. In the Delve War, Goonswarm Keepstar was destroyed by mostly NC Dot, but Pappy forces. And that is in 1 TAC SMEB, also known as 1 SMEB. Also, a massive multi-system, multi-constellation Aegis-Sov contest over the span of hours, the hours between 2000 and 3000. Participants resulted in several destroyed infrastructure hubs, and one of those was Pappy destroying the infrastructure hub of 5 TAC C, which I believe is on the other side of 1DQ. We'll take a look at that. Loseknia Schulpen are advancing a new aggressive campaign in the Fountain region. Now they mostly roam in Iridia, so they might be, they did take some space actually from Fountain, and they've always been near Fountain. But now it looks like it's a new campaign, so we'll look at the map and see what they're doing. Some game news here. A scheduled extended downtime was canceled by CCP. No information was released about what would have been done during that downtime, and no new schedule has been introduced. If you check your email, you should see a CCP Eve quarterly survey in your mailbox. You can fill that out, help them out. And a couple real life things. VentureBeat has CCP Hilmar, or the CEO of the company that makes EVE Online. They have him talking about the game, and one of the interesting things is he makes a comparison between what is going on with the GameSpot stock on the stock exchange and its relationship with people who are buying up the stock from Reddit. And he makes a comparison of that real life situation that's happening right now with EVE Online and how they had something similar a long time ago in the game. Not a lot of details on that, but we'll look into what he says there. All right, those are your headlines. We will be right back with some in-depth review of these. And normally I try to play a commercial here, but I'm going to spare you. So let's look at the top story here. Keepstar destroyed in 1 SMEB. That is in Delve, so very much in real Delve, I suppose. I'm not sure what definition of Delve is these days, but it is definitely a Goonswarm. Keepstar was not defended. It didn't have a core in it either, so it didn't drop that. Let's look at where that is on the map so that you get an idea. We talked about it yesterday. We knew it was in danger. So we'll tap here. Actually, let's bring that up so you can see it. There you go. All right, so this happened just a while ago, actually right before the show, maybe an hour ago. You can see it's right here in the northern part of Delve, right outside of Iridia, actually, Sokt. So that's a very, very popular gate, basically, Sokt to 1 SMEB. And looks like that is kind of near this area here, which is considered Helm's Deep. I think Helm's Deep might have lost its actual value, especially after M2. But so it's right up here in the north, and the I believe the system was jammed, so it's iHub has been intact for more than 35 days, and that allowed that to get jammed up, which means that Imperium couldn't really jump into it. They would have to gate into it. And that's a risky proposition, so there really wasn't any defense for the Keepstar. The Keepstar went through its timers also without much of defense, and its ultimate and last timer was just a few hours ago. Let's have a look actually at that Keepstar. 204 billion ISK. And looks like it was all of Pappy, at least you can see here. 1,300 involved. So I think everybody got what I call a tap on it, which is like they put their finger on it. They registered that they were a part of it. Nice outfit. What's that, Gregorian? Sorry, I didn't know you were in here. What? You keep scaring me. What? How you doing? Are you there?
I'm doing all right.
All right.
Usually people call tagging the kill mail whoring on it.
Yeah, I use different words. Just keep it
to
a
be
family
less
show.
vulgar.
Just keep it a family show. We know, kids' ears are sometimes listening to what their parents are listening to, so we always take that into consideration. But there it is, the SMEB Keepstar Down. Were you in on that fleet, Gregorian? Gregorian, are you there? I'll assume that you were. Were you in on that fleet?
Yeah, I was there.
Can you want to tell us about it a little bit?
Well, I was mostly there coming off of the fighting over a few iHubs that had been going for a couple hours before that.
That's right. Forgot to mention that. Goonswarm actually defended, was it M2? Yeah, it was the iHub in M2. They defended it, kept the field, and Poppy took a hike. So that iHub still belongs to Imperium, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they lost some of the other iHubs in that constellation, which...
5 taxi here. Oh, I was wrong. So that was on the other side of M2, not 1DQ. So let me correct that. Okay, so they lost 4XO, I believe. They lost 23G, because those were Imperium, I believe. They lost 5 taxi and ZXB, but kept or picked up JP4. Yeah, so this constellation is being fought over, and it's kind of interesting because this is the road from T5Z, which is staging for Pappy right here. Like, this is the invading force. That's their system. And then if they jump over here to D, TAC, W, they just go straight into Fountain if they want to. And that's why that was a desirable constellation or two.
Yeah, that constellation and one TAC SMEB are probably the most strategically important areas of Delve, because they are the routes, the regional gates.
Right. All right. So a little bit of correction here from Thrill Gamer. T3G and 4XO, I think. Yeah, he put a dollar sign. We're already lost. Goons lost 4C and ZXB. So it's these two. 4C is where? 5C probably. These two here are the ones that were newly lost. So I assume these up here were where they are now and are under threat. Okay, that makes sense because these are lit up, so they will be fought over soon. All right, so that is Keepstar. That's a big deal, right? That's the second Keepstar that I'm aware of that was destroyed in Delve by force.
Yeah, and a lot of the Titans on the kill mail, I'm guessing, were probably people who were unavailable a couple days ago.
Oh, you think this is their first showing? Let's have a look at that. That's kind of interesting.
So break them out and then use them as a big show of force, I guess.
Well, they're back in business. I think it's pretty clear. And that's a pretty good symbol if they got them out, tanked them up, and like a day later or two, they're just ready to go. Yeah, there's a lot of Titans on this one.
Yep.
Okay. So that's your first story there. Let's see what else we got here. There it is. Okay, so the other thing that's happening is a lot of iHubs, which we talked about, are being fought over. So we already covered those. Let's go to Losecnia in Fountain and see if we can see traces of their new campaign. We'll jump over here to 1SMEB. We'll go through ZBX to YTAC2. That puts us in Fountain. We'll go ahead and look at iHub ownership and see if that's what's going on. Losecnia, you can see, is LSH. That's what they're known for. They've owned this constellation here for a while. They resisted pretty well against the initiative. I think they got down to one constellation too. They look like they've grown a little bit. So they must be striking out from here. I don't think it'll be registering as TCUs or iHubs, but we'll see. I think they're growing this because I think they were down to one constellation. Now they're growing into a second one. So possibly they may probably, if my intuition serves me correctly, they're probably going to grow into this area here. That's a little more defensible. Although there's nobody here right now. I mean, Init is basically vacated, so they can come through if they want to. I just don't know if they would occupy that much space, if there's any reason for them to pay for all that infrastructure without any real benefit, because there's not enough of LSH to take advantage of it. LSH are known as kind of what Wrecking Crew were. They were contemporaries, actually. They're big game hunters. They take down big ships that are traveling through, in LSH's case, through Iridia, because that's the area they had on lockdown. So it didn't matter who you were. If you were NC Dot or Goon Swarm, if you were moving through Iridia, you had to watch out for LSH. In Derelict, that was true. You had to watch out for the Wrecking Crew at the time.
And now, in Hamatar, it's Ivana.
In Hamatar, it's Ivana. That makes sense. Yeah, those are like Empire space that have low sec that people travel through, and it is, it's easy to lock down because you know all the possible combinations of people's path. So when you see someone moving in an area, or even logging in, because they used to be able to track when you logged in. Now they can't do that anymore. But if you're somehow recon down, they probably have an idea of where you're jumping and they can catch you. So it's just easier to lock down those regions. Let's actually go and take a look at those regions if we were to go to the universe. So Iridia is here. I don't like this view. Let's go to the other view. Right. So Iridia is here. I don't know if that's easy to see. I'll zoom in just a little bit. There we go. Light up Iridia. There you go. And so that part of space is just super deadly for super capitals going through there. We've seen a number of them die even last year, before the war, during the war. Usually solo guys get caught by LSH or somebody else like that. Another area where that happens is, you were saying Hamatar.
Yeah, Hamatar and Metropolis is where Iridia usually hunts, that area, Minmatar, Losec.
Let's back out here. There you go. So yeah, and Ivana is, this is what they do as well. They trick people into jumping to fake Fort Czars. They also have the place pretty much locked down too. If you're crossing from there, which is very, it's, I believe if you're in the north, this is one of the points that gets you to the south. So what has had to happen, I think, is groups like, I would say Horde. I'm not sure this is 100% true, but they would have to go on the outside this way, as opposed to going through Losec. Well, anyway, another place, Derelict, used to be super locked down. It may be less so now, but this was by Wrecking Crew. They used to lock this place down. And, you know, they're kind of like that, what is it, a wolf spider or whatever, that kind of burrows in and waits for something to walk by.
Trapdoor spider?
Yeah, something like that. Spiders. But if you were crossing into that area, and a lot of people would, right? Because sometimes some group in anywhere from Syndicate over here to Gemini or whatever was coming down here to Curse, you would have to go through Derelict at some point. Anybody going through Empire space and wanting to get to this deep nullsec, you know, at some point goes through Derelict. Even Providence, which borders on Derelict, a lot of times will travel through there. But anybody going to Curse, you're You're in derelict. All right. So LSH getting aggressive with Fountain. Not their usual thing to do, but we'll keep an eye on that. Okay. So this is what Hilmar said. He said a couple of things. I'll go to the other things that he said too, but I think the big takeaway is right here. EVE Online added 1.3 million new players in 2020. I'm pretty sure that's people who created alphas. And I don't know what he considers a new player. Is it somebody that logs in for a half hour and then never plays again? Or is it somebody that comes back over a period of a week or two? There must be some threshold where they say that is a new player. I don't think that's how many accounts were created and that's it. But yeah, so EVE Online. No, EVE Online is different than EVE Echoes there. So I'm not sure that's EVE Echoes. And EVE Echoes, I think, had a lot more than 1.3 million try it in 2020. I think, wasn't there like 4 million in the beta? Or am I crazy about it? Yeah, I think there was like 4 million signed up for it or something. It was a huge number. Don't quote me on that. I may have that totally wrong, but I just remember 4, and I can't imagine it was 400,000. I think it was many more than that. Yeah. Yeah, Echoes is probably over 1 million, but I think like 4 million people tried it when it first came out, I think. And so this 1.3 million is strictly EVE Online, I'm pretty sure. And that sounds about right. We've heard comments from CSM members that have said that, you know, they've done a lot of work on getting their funnels to work well. And a funnel is basically, if it's a funny word, but it's basically like the slippery slope to continue to buy a product. So a funnel might look like, at the top of the funnel is to get you to look at their product. And then the next part of it going down is that you browse on it, you browse it and then you buy it at the bottom of the funnel. So it's like getting it in front of you, making that decision to buy it, and then the process of buying it and shipping it would be at the bottom of the funnel. So for EVE Online, that looks a little bit different. It's getting you to hear EVE Online, and then getting you to download it would be like the next level, and then getting you to turn it on once you download it and get through the character creation process is another level on it, and then playing it for day one, or the first hour really, and then the first 2 hours, and then the first 12, and then the first 2 days, etc. And that's going down the funnel. At a certain point, you're considered a player. So what they've done, because they put a lot of effort into this, they really have 2 teams right now at CCP that I'm aware of. And one of them is to kind of balance the game and to fix some of the, of course, the scarcity problems that are going on, but also the great disparity of wealth. That's one team, kind of veteran affairs. And then the other team is more or less getting the new player to stick around longer, again, going deeper into the funnel. And they've had a lot of success. So 1.3 million probably has better retention than it used to have in EVE Online. And that's good for all of us, because the more populated the world is, the more possibilities of interesting things happen, the more we want to stick around and invest in this game. Okay, so that was VentureBeat, an article. I believe he was doing a live video, because this came up on Reddit and it had more information than the article had. So this guy, whoever wrote it here, says, well, right here, he says, if Hilmar says anything else particularly relevant, I'll update this thread. And so then he went ahead and edited it 3 times. But the idea is that, I'll go ahead and put this into chat now. He says some interesting things here. So the first thing he says is that the servers crashed spectacularly during the M2 fight. So that's in quotes, and I imagine that's verbatim. So that is one way to describe what happened with the servers. We don't want to say that the servers crashed, because they didn't. Otherwise, Goonswarm wouldn't have been able to destroy all those Titans that were unmanned. So server didn't crash on their side, but as far as Hilmar's concerned, it did crash. And we all know that something happened that didn't allow the battle to continue as normal. So whatever you want to call it is fine. Hilmar calls it crashed. And he also said 1 to 2 million tried Eve last year. So that may be what that 1.3 million number comes from. And he said in a Q&A after the main session that they were slowly and quietly refactoring the code base over time, but are staying relatively quiet in order to avoid setting unrealistic expectations. However, the phrase tens of thousands, quote unquote, of players on grid was used about the far future hopes and plans. Okay, and then there's a discussion about those comments, so you can check those out. All right, this was bittersweet. A few days ago, SpaceX carried out launch of the carrier rocket Falcon 9 in the mission Transporter 1, and set a record for the number of satellites launched into orbit in a single flight. As it turned out, among the payload was the ashes of a player in EVE Online, Bruce Paradox Olbers McPhee. He died in 2019 at the age of 72, which saddened his comrades and friends in the CCP Games project. During the last Falcon 9 launch, SpaceX sent Bruce McPhee's ashes into space to fulfill his wishes. Very nice. And it looks like Max Singularity, the Space Pope, again, who works for NASA, probably had something to do with it. And he wrote in a tweet on the 24th, EVE Online players' ashes head to space this morning on SpaceX. He was a wonderful friend of mine. Disabled, and the virtual world was his life. He said, I only see 3 people a year, but in Second Life and EVE, I see hundreds of friends. And here's a picture of him, and there's a picture of the Falcon 9 taking off. And here's a little bit more. Charles White, who is Max Singularity, that's his real name. He's public about it, that's why I'm reading it out. And he said something, let me actually bring this up so you guys can see it. There, that's a little easier. So he says a little bit more, and this is in real life, as he's talking about his friend. He says, my friend Paradox Olbers, that's his Eve name, real name Spike McPhee. Ashes were launched into space this morning. We were very good friends in both Second Life and EVE Online. He was a sponsor and fan of early space art from the likes of Don Davies. Paradox had on his profile, I'm stuck in a gravity well, rescue us SpaceX. And sure enough, his ashes ascended into the limitless vacuum of space today. Fly on, Paradox, fly on. And there it is for you guys. All right, so that's our news coverage today. Do you have anything else, Gregorian?
Not that I can think of.
All right. So again, our stories today where the Goonswarm Keepstar was killed in one SMEB, that's Delve, and iHubs were fought over, including 2 taken by Pappy, 5TAC-C, and ZBX, or ZXB. That's the border to Fountain.
Yeah, ZXB.
Yeah, border to Fountain. And
Losech and Shalupin also killed a Titan today. Did we cover that?
No. Let's take a look real quick at, we are at the wrap-up phase, so I would have liked to have handled this earlier, but we'll take a look since we're early.
Wait. Yeah, they killed an avatar, which is the pilot is in an NPC corp, so it might be coming back from a break. But The only previous killboard activity that this character has had was fighting against Snuffed Out in August 2019 as a member of Darkness.
Oh, okay. Might
so
be Rush.
Darkness folded into the initiative, so that might be someone with current Imperium ties coming back to the game or something.
Or no ties, because he's, maybe he's, he's not in Imperium, he's not in Initiative, so maybe he was coming back to join friends, but don't know where he would go or if he even had friends in Darkness. But there it is. I would just say that this guy is a solo guy instead of tying him to anyone, and he was killed by Losecnia again in Corazor, which borders Iridia. So they're active in that whole area. This is not surprising. I've actually run into Losecnia. I had a friend in it, actually, a Russian guy. And NC Dot and Losecnia used to fight a little bit in, where was that? It was actually in Iridia. Yeah, it was in Iridia. Our US guys would bait them out a little bit using a Nyx or something, and we got them to bite on something, and then we attacked them, and they literally got away. Well, we killed one of their Nyxes, but they had two Nyxes that attacked, and it was pretty amazing to see how efficient they are at not only striking but really escaping as well when they're in trouble.
Oh yeah, they're really good at it.
Yeah, so they're definitely the boogeyman, and even when there's a move up and all of NC is moving through their territory, it's tight formation because you do not want to be left behind. Losecnia has always been very impressive. And they are, again, different than Nullsecnia Schulpen, which is just a copy of Losecnia. These guys are Russian, and they're kind of like the PL of Russian games. Russian gamers in EVE Online. So there you go. All right, so again, no scheduled downtime. That's been canceled. Look for a survey in your email. And if we can get more information on that Hilma article, we'll bring it to you. And again, fly on Paradox Olbers from Red Rain Corporation as his real life ashes were put into space, which is really amazing if you think about it. All right. Thanks, guys, for coming around. We will see you next time on Talking in Stations. Now, where is that button?